The volunteer badge felt heavier than it should have as I pinned it to my scrubs. Natalie Reeves, volunteer at Reed. The same badge I'd worn for 3 years while completing my surgical residency at St. Mary's. Everyone assumed I was a candy striper or maybe an aide. I never corrected them. Natalie. There you are. My mother's voice cut through the hospital lobby like a scalpel. Hurry up, we can't be late to the gala. And please tell me you brought something appropriate to wear. You can't go in those things. I looked down at my scrubs, splattered with a 16-hour shift's worth of saving lives. I have a dress in my locker. Well, go change, and do something with your hair. She examined me with the critical eye she usually reserved for auction items. Your sister's already there, networking. You know how important these connections are for her practice. Yes, I knew. Alexandra the lawyer, Alexandra the success. Alexandra who'd made partner at 30 while I was still playing around at the hospital. The St. Mary's annual charity gala was the social event of the year. $500 a plate, all proceeds going to the new pediatric wing I helped design. Not that anyone knew that. To them, I was just the volunteer who sometimes helped with fundraising. I changed quickly in the on-call room, trading scrubs for the simple black dress I kept for emergencies. In the mirror, I looked tired. 3 surgeries back-to-back, including a 9-hour reconstruction on a car accident victim, had left their mark. But I'd saved all 3. That had to count for something, even if no one knew. The ballroom was already packed when we arrived. Crystal chandeliers cast diamonds of light across the crowd of donors, hospital board members, and medical staff. I spotted several of my colleagues, Dr. Chin from cardiology, Dr. Williams from oncology, but hung back. Tonight wasn't about me. Patricia, a woman in pearls, embraced my mother. So lovely to see you. And is this Alexandra? No, this is my other daughter, Natalie. My mother's voice carried that particular tone, apologetic, slightly embarrassed. She volunteers here at the hospital. How sweet, following in her sister's philanthropic footsteps. Something like that. Mom steered the conversation away before I could respond. Have you seen Alexandra's latest case in the papers? She's representing the Morrison family in that huge medical malpractice suit. I bit my tongue. The Morrison case was against a young resident who'd made a judgment call during an emergency surgery. I'd reviewed the case files. The resident had saved the patient's life, but the family was suing over a minor complication. Alexandra was about to destroy a good doctor's career for a payday. Natalie, go get us some champagne, Mom instructed, already moving toward another group of her friends. I wove through the crowd toward the bar, catching fragments of conversation. Doctors discussing cases, board members debating budgets, donors being courted for the new wing. My world, yet not my world. Dr. Reeves? A small voice tugged at my dress. I looked down to find Emma Chen, one of my pediatric patients, in a wheelchair decorated with ribbons. Her mother stood behind her, eyes widening in recognition. Hi, Emma. I knelt to her level. You look beautiful tonight. How's the new heart treating you? Good. I can play now without getting tired, she beamed. Mommy, this is the doctor who fixed my heart. Mrs. Chen grabbed my hands, tears in her eyes. Dr. Reeves, I didn't know you'd be here. We can never thank you enough. The other surgeon said the surgery was too risky, but you? I squeezed her hands. Emma's the brave one. I just helped. Just helped. Dr. Morrison, the chief of pediatric surgery, appeared beside us. Mrs. Chen, Dr. Reeves performed one of the most complex pediatric cardiac surgeries in this hospital's history. Your daughter is alive because of her skill. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. Dr. Morrison. Don't be modest, Natalie, though I suppose that's why you've been hiding your light under a bushel all these years. He winked at Mrs. Chen. Did you know Dr. Reeves has been volunteering here since she was 16? Worked her way through med school, turned down offers from Hopkins and Mayo to stay here. She says St. Mary's is family. Natalie, my mother's sharp voice interrupted. Where's that champagne? Oh, she stopped short, seeing the small group. I'm sorry, am I interrupting something? Mrs. Reeves. Dr. Morrison extended his hand. What perfect timing. I was just telling Mrs. Chen about your daughter's remarkable journey. My DAV here. She's just a neuroses aide. Mom told the hair for Friendies at the CHARATOE gala. her voice carrying in that way she perfected at country club luncheons, not like her sister DLA. The words hung in the air like a failed intubation. Dr. Morrison's eyebrows climbed toward his hairline. Mrs. Chen looked confused. Emma tugged at my dress again. "Are you not a doctor?" she asked in that honest way only children can. "She is," Dr. Morrison said slowly, studying my mother. "One of our best, actually." My mother laughed, that brittle sound she made when cornered. "Well, yes, she helps out, but it's not like she's." The lights dimmed, saving us all from whatever dismissive explanation was coming. Dr. Harrison, the hospital director, took the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Street Mary's annual gala. Tonight, we celebrate not just our donors, but the incredible medical professionals who make miracles happen daily." I tried to fade back into the crowd, but Emma had attached herself to my leg, and Mrs. Chen still held my hand. "This year," Dr. Harrison continued, "we're honoring someone special, someone who embodies everything Street Mary stands for: brilliance, compassion, and humility. This physician has revolutionized our surgical protocols, mentored countless residents, and saved lives others deemed unsavable." My phone buzzed. A text from Alex. "Where are you?" "Mom's looking for you. She wants to introduce me to the hospital board." "This surgeon," Dr. Harrison went on, "recently performed a groundbreaking procedure that will be published in the Journal of Cardiac Surgery. They've done all this while maintaining the lowest mortality rate in the state and the highest patient satisfaction scores we've ever seen." I felt eyes on me. Several of my colleagues were smiling in my direction. My mother, oblivious, was scanning the crowd, probably looking for Alexandra's table. "The hospital de resitor tuoki gate NIC. Now pilies GVLC our UNGSDCKIF of Surgery Dr. Natalie Reeves. The spotlight found me instantly, probably because Emma started jumping and shouting, "That's my doctor. That's my doctor. Mom's teaching MPGN IKUT hat BFLOR." The crystal shattered into 1,000 pieces, the sound sharp in the sudden silence. I watched the champagne spread across the marble floor, bubbles dying on impact as the entire room turned to stare. "Chief of surgery." My mother's voice was barely a whisper. "But you're just." "Just what, Mom?" I found myself saying, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "Just a volunteer. Just playing around. Just not Alexandra." Dr. Harrison's voice boomed through the microphone. "Dr. Reeves, please join us on stage." Emma released my leg. "Go, Dr. Reeves. Go." I walked through the parting crowd, past colleagues who applauded, past board members who nodded approval, past my mother who stood frozen in a puddle of champagne and shattered assumptions. On stage, Dr. Harrison shook my hand warmly. "Ladies and gentlemen, at just 32, Dr. Natalie Reeves has performed over 500 successful surgeries, published 15 peer-reviewed papers, and established our hospital's revolutionary minimally invasive cardiac program. She's the youngest chief of surgery in the state's history." The applause was thunderous. Through the lights, I could see faces, my team beaming with pride, patients whose lives we touched, and there, near the back, my mother. Alexandra had materialized beside her, mouth open in shock. "Dr. Reeves," Dr. Harrison continued, "would you like to say a few words?" I took the microphone, my hands steady the way they were in surgery. "Thank you. This honor belongs to everyone at Street Mary's, to my incredible surgical team, to our nurses who are the real heroes, to our support staff who keep us running, and to our patients who trust us with their lives." I found Emma in the crowd, waving frantically. I became a doctor because I believe in second chances. Many of you know I started here as a volunteer at 16. Right after my father died from a surgical complication that could have been prevented with better techniques. I vowed then to become the surgeon who could save the next father, the next mother, the next child. The room was silent now, hanging on every word. Street Mary's gave me that chance. They saw potential where others saw just a grieving teenager. They invested in me, and I've tried every day to pay that forward. The volunteer badge I still wear isn't about hiding. It's about remembering where I came from and why I'm here. I looked directly at my mother. I've learned that titles don't define us, actions do. Whether you're a volunteer, a nurse's aide, or a chief of surgery, what matters is the life you touch, the difference you make. To those who supported me, thank you. To those who doubted me, thank you too. You taught me that the only validation that matters comes from the patient who walks out of here alive." The applause erupted again. Dr. Harrison presented me with the award, a crystal caduceus that caught the light like surgical steel. As I left the stage, people pressed forward to congratulate me. But I moved purposefully toward one person. My mother stood exactly where I'd left her, champagne still glittering on her shoes. Alexandra beside her, for once without words. "Mom," I said quietly, "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." "How long?" Her voice was hoarse. "How long have you been?" "Chief, 6 months. But I've been a surgeon for 4 years. Finished my residency 2 years ago." "But you never said. You never asked." The words came out gentler than I intended. Every dinner, every call, it was always about Alex's cases, Alex's success. "When I tried to tell you about my work, you changed the subject. I thought you were just volunteering, playing at being important." "I know." I touched her shoulder. "I know exactly what you thought." Alexandra finally spoke. "The Morrison case. You knew, didn't you? You knew I was wrong about that resident." I nodded. "I reviewed the surgery. Dr. Park saved that patient's life. The complication was unavoidable. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have listened? Or would you have accused me of being jealous of your success?" She had no answer to that. "Natalie." Emma rolled up in her wheelchair, her mother pushing quickly behind. "Are you going to do more speeches?" "No, sweetheart, I'm all done." "Good. Can you sit with us? Mommy says you're a hero, and I want everyone to see my hero." I looked at my mother, then at Emma's hopeful face. The choice was surprisingly easy. "I'd love to," I said, letting Emma take my hand. As she led me away, I heard my mother call out, "Natalie, wait." I paused but didn't turn. "The gala ends at midnight, Mom. If you want to talk, really talk, not perform. I'll be in my office. 3rd floor, surgical wing. The one with chief of surgery on the door." The rest of the evening blurred past. Colleagues sharing stories my mother had never heard, patients thanking me for surgeries she never knew I performed, board members discussing research she never knew I conducted. I sat with Emma and her family, surrounded by the people who'd seen me for who I was all along. At 11:47, my office door knocked. Both my mother and Alexandra stood in the hallway, looking uncertain in a way I'd never seen. "May we come in?" Mom asked. I gestured to the chairs across from my desk. The walls were covered with degrees, certifications, and photos. Me with patients, with my surgical team, receiving awards. A whole life they'd never bothered to see. "I don't understand," Mom began. "Why hide this? Why let me think?" "I didn't hide anything. I just stopped trying to make you see me." I leaned back in my chair. "Do you know what you said when I told you I got into medical school? You asked if I was sure I could handle it, then spent 20 minutes talking about Alexandra passing the bar." "I didn't mean. When I graduated summa cum laude, you missed it because Alex had a client dinner. When I got my residency match at St. Mary's, you said at least it was local and I could help with family events. When I performed my first solo surgery, you asked if I was ever going to do something meaningful with my life." Each word was another surgery, precise and necessary. "I stopped telling you because you'd already decided my story. I was the daughter who couldn't measure up, who was just volunteering, who was wasting her potential. And maybe I let you believe it because it was easier than fighting for space in a narrative where I was always the footnote." Alexandra spoke up. "The volunteer badge. You wear it on purpose. It reminds me why I'm here. Not for recognition, not for titles, but for people like Emma. For the terrified families in waiting rooms. For the chance to turn someone's worst day into a second chance." "We failed you," my mother said quietly. "I failed you." "No," I corrected. "You failed to see me. There's a difference. I didn't need you to make me succeed. I did that myself. I needed you to witness it, to celebrate it, to see that both your daughters could shine without dimming the other." Silence settled over us like surgical drapes. Finally, Alexandra asked, "The Morrison case, will Dr. Park be okay? If you drop the suit, yes, he's a good surgeon who made the right call under pressure. The kind of surgeon you want operating on someone you love. I'll withdraw it Monday." I nodded, then looked at my mother. "I have surgery at 6 tomorrow. removing a tumor everyone else said was inoperable. The patient is 12. Her parents have been sleeping in the hospital for a week. Will you save her? I'll do what I always do, everything possible. I stood the conversation nearing its end. You're welcome to wait in the family lounge. Surgery should take about 8 hours. Fair warning though, I'm just a volunteer. It might not be very impressive. A ghost of a smile crossed my mother's face. I think I've been impressed by the wrong things for a very long time. They left quietly, and I returned to the gala's final moments. Emma had fallen asleep in her wheelchair, clutching my award. Her mother smiled at me with tears in her eyes, the kind of tears I'd learned to recognize. Gratitude, relief, joy. The next morning, I scrubbed in for surgery to find the observation deck full. My team, some board members, and there, my mother and Alexandra, looking haggard but present. 8 hours later, I emerged victorious. The tumor was out, the patient stable. In the hallway, my mother waited with coffee and red eyes. I watched the whole thing, she said. I've never seen anything so terrifying and beautiful. That's surgery, I said, accepting the coffee. Terror and beauty holding hands. That's you, she corrected. My daughter, the healer. I'm so sorry it took me this long to see it. I squeezed her hand, the same hand that had once pushed me toward invisibility now pulling me into the light. Better late than never, I said. That's what we say in medicine. As long as there's life, there's hope for healing. And for the first time in years, I believed that applied to more than just surgery.